Morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another video of the Liberian Bitcoin Blockchain and Cryptocurrency Forum. My name is PN, and I'm so excited. Yesterday we had a really good event. Our meetup yesterday at the Purple Rose Lounge in Crystal, Minnesota was awesome. A lot of people show up, not just from the African community, but also folks from the crypto blockchain space in Minnesota, from different background and from different nationalities. So it was really, really nice. And just the climate of the event was awesome. Everyone was having a conversation and everyone was sort of engaged um, in pretty much just learning about what cryptocurrency is, some of the projects out there, and how they can find their space in the overall crypto blockchain community. It was really nice. We had some really good appetizers. We have some plantain and we also have some chicken wings, right? So thanks to everyone who attended. Hopefully next time, next event, if you miss this past event, you can be a part of it. Um, so just quick thing here I wanted to talk about with the current condition in the whole cryptocurrency space. Right now, the space is going through a lot. There's been a lot of conversation about regulations and making sure that cryptocurrencies, companies and projects and technology is actually working within U.S. regulations. So, and what's interesting is regulations, the U.S. is actually still crafting their regulations. They don't completely have a complete finished regulatory clarity on cryptocurrencies and blockchain. So it's kind of like, you have these projects that are being developed, but there's no clarity as to, what to follow in the development process. So it's kind of holding the space back. So what's crazy is though, the overall crypto community and all the developers, the US don't want to lose them either. So if the US don't get shit together real quick, all these guys would probably try to start working in other countries that are more accommodating, like places like Singapore and other places like Switzerland and hopefully some African countries too. So um, cryptocurrencies on the African continent right now is going up little by little. People are learning about it. I think that's where we start. The first thing we want to do is to make sure we spread the word so everybody know about what cryptocurrencies, blockchain is, what the technology is, and how the technology can be used to solve some of Africa's problem. And that's one of the most important link. How do we connect the utility of blockchain technology to some of the challenges we have on the continent? And because the people on the continent know what some of those challenges are, they do. Now, if we can present to them some of the utility and some of the solution that blockchain technology actually provides, that can be easily associated with the challenges that they face every day. And that can make people more receptive to um, the implementation of the technology. So education is one of the most important things. That's what we do here at the Liberian Bitcoin Blockchain and Cryptocurrency Forum. We do the best we can to host events and educate people in the community about what the space is about, what crypto is, what blockchain is. So that's where we start because you can't start telling people about some implementation of crypto and blockchain technology into our economic systems back home if they don't even know what it is. So we're building an army here, people. And this is what this is all about. So quick, I'm going to dive into the economy right now and what's been going on. So with recent news in the financial space, obviously there's been failure of a couple of very important banks. Silicon Valley Bank is one of those banks. And what happens is, obviously, when you deposit money in the bank actually holds your money and lend out the money to some tech companies or some startups or some businesses or some sort of company that wants to take a loan. And the bank is hoping that when they loan that money out, they can get um, some interest on that money. So they're getting interest on your deposits. However, this is tricky now. The bank's trying to make money out of your money, out of your deposits. But if those companies that apply for those loans cannot pay back those loans and the interest on that, what happens? The bank cannot get the money back, you know, and the bank cannot get the money back. The bank cannot have a balance sheet because they have given out more money than they actually can can have on their balance sheet to say, hey, this is the amount of deposit we have. We have $5 million deposit, but we've lent out about 400, about 4,500,000. So we're only technically left with $500,000 here. So what if everyone who deposited their money in the bank decide to go to the bank and say, hey, I want my money back? The bank doesn't have that. The bank would technically be negative $4.5 million short in deficit. So, but when that happens, what usually happens, the government comes in and try to build out the banks because the government want to make sure the banks doesn't die out. Because what happens when that happens, it creates a lot of panic in the financial market. And not just in the US, but also globally. A lot of people look at the US and be like, what's going on here? And these guys are having, banks are having issues with money. What's going on? And that's not good publicity for the United States financial system. So what the US does is the US have to build out the bank. The US government has to build out the bank. So how do they do it? The government doesn't have money that just sitting there. The government has to figure out a way to bring out money and to be able to make sure all the depositors in that bank, that failing bank, actually gets their money back. Well, every bank actually has, or technically is insured by the FDIC, which is the insurance company that pretty much um, provide insurance for deposits in banks. So if you put $1 million in the bank, you're technically insured with $250,000, which is like 25%. So that's why a lot of rich people, what they do, they actually disperse their money across many banks because individual banks have that cap of $250,000 insurance on your deposits. So the government has to print out more money to pay up some of those people to help the bank, so the bank doesn't really fail, right? What that does also, on the contrary, is it increases the monetary supply because the government is printing money out of thin air. They're putting more money into the economy that has not technically been backed by any sort of productivity or manufacturing. So when you have an increased amount of money in the system, and especially money that isn't really backed by any sort of productivity, the what we call inflation actually creeps in because there's more money in in the market, there's more money supply in the market than goods and services. Um, goods and services that can be um, utilized by that amount of money, if you know what I mean. So, and and that's the problem with the printing of money, and that makes things more expensive for ordinary people like me and you. Um, 50 years ago, $100 would have probably bought a lot at the grocery store, and $100 right now. So money loses value over time, and printing money is part of the reason why it loses value because the monetary supply increases, but productivity is still static. Productivity should go up with monetary supply. You know, if there's no production, then obviously there's no goods and services proportional to the supply of money, then the money becomes less valuable than those goods and services. That's basic economics. So, uh, and that's why Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is very important because we're trying to figure out a way where government isn't in charge of the production of money. We want to put computers in charge of the production of money. We want to put mathematics in charge of the production of money because governments are taking away our wealth by inflating the monetary supply. So if I save $1 million in the future for my offspring, $1 billion in 40 years from now might not be or might not have the purchasing power as $1 million right now. It definitely will not. So $1 million might have a purchasing power in 40 years from now. It's probably $250,000. So you might lose like 75% on that monetary power. We don't want that anymore. And that's why Bitcoin is so important because the government can print money, but the government cannot print a Bitcoin. The production of Bitcoin, which is the mining process, is controlled by mathematics. No centralized entity, no central bank, no Federal Reserve, none of that. It's totally out of their hand. And they don't want that. But that's where the world is going. The Pandora box has opened and there's no one that can close it. So I encourage you to start looking at Bitcoin, look at how to leverage some of your savings into Bitcoin because the US dollar is definitely, it's not going to keep up. That's a fact. It's not what I want, it's just what the laws of economics will do. So buy more Bitcoin, save some Bitcoin for your children, for your family, for your nieces and nephew, and for yourself, because I will not be surprised to see Bitcoin going up to $1 million in the next 4 years or so. So take advantage, people. I hope you do. I really, really hope you do. Buy some Bitcoin. Buy some Bitcoin. Put $1,000 in Bitcoin and lock it up. Just do that. It's not financial advice. Hope you have a nice day. Bye bye.